the immortal words of Kiefer Ravena. Relax! This is Rick Olivares for the 4th episode of Blue Eagle 40. We're back. We're alive. It's only one game, guys. There's still tomorrow. In fact, that's today, di ba? The day after tomorrow. All right. For this episode of Blue Eagle 40, we're going to be talking about the past UAAP Season 76 opening, as well as, of course, the Ateneo NU match yesterday. With me this afternoon are some colleagues from the media, Mr. Carlo Pamintuan and Job De Leon. Welcome to Blue Eagle 40, guys.
Thank you for having me.
Teka, tatapon ko na yung props ko. Okay, guys. Opening weekend, you can actually characterize the matches as ugly. Kasama na doon yung opening game jitters, may mga rookies, may mga bagong coach. Tapos, nabro yata yung officials ulit. So, may panibagong adjustment. What can you say about these matches? We'll start with you, Job.
You want to go by game? Let's
first talk about by game, FU versus UE first.
UE.
Yeah.
Like FU is one of those teams na maraming questions. Dating back to last season, diba? Is R.R. Garcia gonna come back? So okay, he comes back. But how does he still coexist with Terence Romeo, who has the ball, who's going to be the main guy? And if anything, the first game versus UE proves na apparently it's not going to be a problem under Coach Nash Rosella. He had Terence Romeo na 23 points, 9 rebounds, and 12 assists.
Yeah.
So the most important thing we learned is this guy can pass the ball if he wants to pass the ball.
So there's no truth that he's the black hole of Moraita.
No, he's not.
On the other hand, this was the battle of Recto.
Yeah.
Carlo, UE coming into this season, ang taas ng hype, having won the Phil Oil tournament against NU. It was a big flop for them in their opening day.
I think the UAAP fans finally figured out that UE, even if they were good in the preseason, it's so much different come the UAAP season. I think they underestimated FEU kasi before the season started, everyone was tabbing UE as one of the Final Four shoe-ins actually with NU, with UST. But then FEU is a really strong team. I mean, you can't deny the fact that magaling si Terence Romeo, magaling si R.R. Garcia, at may bago silang coach, which means that their system is actually better. Now, I still think that Roy Sumang is one of the top 2-point guards in the UAAP. But then, if you limit Roy Sumang from doing damage, then masyado nang alam ng FEU kung paano pipigilan yung UE. That's why they lost.
Okay, you talked about the guards. It's Terence Romeo and Roy Sumang. This is food for thought and discussion for later. No, they're guard-led teams, very much like Ateneo. So that's a comparison that we want to talk about later. But speaking of guards, let's move on to the very next match. UST versus LaSalle. Walang point guard ang Uste. Iba-iba nag-aakit ng bola, nakita natin. Job, thoughts mo dun sa laban na yun?
I tweeted this during the game, and that the game was so ugly. It was so ugly.
But ugly.
That Terence Romeo had more points in the entire game than LaSalle had at the half. Okay? Number 2, I also tweeted that the way it was going, I'd rather watch a UP Maroons game.
No regrets.
Kanino shots fired yun? UP or LaSalle? I'm not sure.
Bala tayo. But di ba, ang pangit lang talaga ng lahat. Like, from the quality of shots they were taking, the insane amount of threes that LaSalle was launching, how UST couldn't get their guys besides Karim Abdul to create. And parang, well, it's not what you expect from these two contenders, supposedly, coming into opening weekend.
Okay, Carlo, Job mentioned about LaSalle tossing up all these shots. Do you think that also has to do with bago pa lang yung system na tinatakbo ni Juno Soler?
I think so. 3 weeks into the UAP, you change a coach. Yung Ateneo, bago yung coach from buong summer, nandyan na si Coach Bo, but then you see the results on the court, and it's not perfect.
Yes.
It's far from perfect. And 3 weeks lang yung adjustment period ng LaSalle. So if anything, I think they're still adjusting to yung bagong system ni Coach Juno.
Alright, but overall, looking at those, alam natin, marami pang ipapakita itong dalawang koponan na itong LaSalle and UST. But at the same time, mga ibang inaasahan, like Aljon Mariano, disappeared but was present in the last few moments of the game. But their point guards, Tata Bautista and Dakiwag, they did not function. Kimlo. Do you think that's a problem that we should also be looking at, like, you know, in terms of like, hey, we have to get some production from our guards?
Parang what I observed during the summer is parang si Pido, he just shuffles with whoever's kind of feeling it or whoever he wants to perform. Sometimes he'll go with the Kiwag, sometimes he'll go with Low. And I'm not sure how consistent the results are, but they made it to the quarters. They still put away Lasal. I'm not sure how big of a concern it is right now. So baka there's time for them to figure it out. Are they going to find a Jeric Fortuna level replacement soon? No,
not really.
Maybe not. No, I don't see it happening. Kasi even Tata Bautista is really much better as a spot-up shooter when he's running through screens and you give him the shot. But after that, siguro they'll be fine. Magkakaalaman na lang yan when you go against another point guard na you need to counter. Like you have Romeo, you have Sumang, and those guys na feeling mo kailangan mong i-pressure sila also from the perimeter.
Okay. Carlo, do you think that for the whole weekend, it was the weekend of the guards na nagpakita? Kasi kahit sa UST, even if nagdala rin naman kahit paano si Karim Abdul, it was still Jeric Tang carrying that squad.
I think this year it will be a guard-dominated season for the UAAP. I mean, yes, there's an influx of imports, African imports, but then none of them are really polished except for Karim Abdul. Right. So that means that you can't expect scoring from any of those guys except him. That means they are reduced to being defenders and rebounders, and it's up to the small guys to pour in the points for their teams.
Okay, speaking of defenders, let's move on to the next match, UP versus Adamson. I like to believe that Raul Soyud and Chris Ball are the keys to keeping the Maroons together, but they were in foul trouble and they fell apart against the Adamson Falcons. Job, once courtside reporter for Adamson, your thoughts on the Falcons game?
Your boy.
Okay, so for those who don't know, I was a courtside reporter for Adamson season 72, 73.
Anong batch ka daw nag-graduate doon?
Pero taga dito ako. And when asked between which team I'm rooting for, I like them both. It's really hard. But anyway, Adamson. Wala namang problema as long as nandun pa rin si Coach Leo Austria for me. As long as you can still maintain that tight perimeter defense, so you're able to put pressure on the ball and convert those into fast break points, okay lang yun. Even if you have guys who can't create. Parang ito yung sakit ng Adamson every year. Besides your primary scorer, like right now it's Cruz. But the people around him, like say si Rios, or si Trollano, or si Cabrera, aren't people known for making shots. So dun sila bumabawi. As long as may nakadepensa sila, they'll be fine. And we saw that. They got several fast break points against UP because also they themselves are having some problems or they don't have point guards that are as polished as they probably would like them to be.
Speaking of the guards, Carlo, Mikey Reyes, after a year away from the UP Maroons, he's back as a starting point guard over Ensoy Asilum, who's coming off a shoulder injury. I like Mikey Reyes, though, but your thoughts? Do you think masyado showtime minsan instead of executing?
Yes. Actually, the entire guard rotation ng UP was struggling happen. I think that it's because their primary big scorers, Soyud and Ball, actually prefer scoring from the outside.
Face up.
Mid-range jumpers instead of back down post scoring. I think that gives them little space to move around. Kasi yung si Sewa and other bigs ng Adamson will adjust outside eh. So it clogs the outside for guys like Asilum, for guys like Reyes. Kaya nahihirapan sila to produce yung points na kailangan ng team.
You know, one of the things that I mentioned in my preseason preview was that teams are suffering from what I call the Greg Slaughter effect, where you bring in this massive center in the middle, it displaces the previous center, and they're looking for that spot. Speaking of Adamson, Sewa's there, you move Brondial out to the perimeter. Do you think that sometimes he's struggling with that position, playing he's theoretically the power forward, but sometimes he's way too far out, Job?
For me, I think he'll be fine. He's been working on that jumper since last season. Tapos, it frees him up a little bit more kasi automatically Sewa draws the bigger guy, and Brondial's there on offense for offensive rebounds in those tip-ins. In the preseason, if I'm not mistaken, he led the UAP players in offensive rebounding. So, in that sense, mas komportable siya. And he's not really that back-to-the-basket player. On Adamson, that was always somebody like Julius Colina, or like EJ Campson to an extent. Oh, Jan Colina to an extent. Pero parang posting up has never been Brondial's game. So, okay lang sa akin. I think this will work out for Rodney.
Speaking of posting up, the big men of UP did not perform because of foul trouble.
Yeah.
who has to stand up for that team?
I think Soyud. I think he's the most polished scorer in terms of UP and their bigs. Going back lang to yung point ni Job, I think paano niya? Si
Rodney
Brondial will be good at his position. Hindi niya palang kabisado. There was this one instance in the game. He got the ball inside the free throw line. Yung instinct niya is to put it inside to drive. So he passed up on the open shot, tapos dumrive siya. Pero hindi niya kabisado, so travel. He's still thinking about the moves. But then when he gets this, when he figures out kung ano yung kailangan ni Coach Leo sa kanya, he will be a dangerous player for Adamson. And alam naman natin, if you let Coach Leo Austria coach you, you can be a really good player.
All right. So from those two games, we move now to the main one. Ateneo versus
The main one for us.
for all of us. Okay, for the first time in 6 years, and you defeats us. No, but of course, we all know that a lot of our players are coming back from injury.
Yeah.
Kiefer Ravenna was not 100%.
Right.
So obvious. There was a loss of his explosiveness. No, but guys, how did it feel for all of you to see that team run onto the floor? Everyone, Gwyn Capasio, JP Eram, that entire team run onto the floor to try and go for 6. Job, you first.
Alam mo, you can see that the effort is there. When coach parang pag pinasok sila, okay, pukpukan na. Pero you can't help but feel na, to put it, I think the correct term is, I'm concerned. I'm not as concerned as before. Whereas, was it last year, a couple years ago, we ended like a 29-game winning streak against Adamson.
2 years.
Losing streak.
2 years ago.
Yeah, but our Adamson had not won in 29 games.
Yeah.
And then they finally beat us. Then we were saying, oh no, we have to take them seriously na. But that year, Adamson ranked second in the Final Four standings, and then they lost that advantage to FEU, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So if it doesn't mean anything, right?
Yes,
Hurdling that hump doesn't mean anything. But it is going to be a tougher climb than whatever it is we've faced in the last 5 years.
Carlo?
I don't know with you guys, but I just enjoy watching the team again. I mean,
Yes.
it's been a really long time. And Phil Oil, yes, but then iba pa rin talaga yung UAAP. I mean, and when you see your guys representing, when you see them fighting, when you see Ryan Buenafe doing Ryan Buenafe things, you just feel happy because they're back, and you get to cheer for this team again. It's just a really good feeling for Ateneo basketball fans.
All right. First game of our drive for 6-peat. Obviously, we did not get that first game, but as people would like to say, it's the first game. But Kiefer Ravenna, there was so much talk before the game. Is he or is he not suiting up? But he suited up anyway. Your take? Dapat siguro bang pinahinga na lang muna siya kasi Wednesday, FE yung kalaban. Your thoughts on that?
It could be easy to say for us na well, injured siya, wag na muna palaruin. But then when you have a thoroughbred like Kiefer Ravenna, ang hirap talian when you know that he wants to play, even if he is hurt, even if he is not 100%, sometimes you just have to let it go and let him try to help his team out.
Exactly. Joe?
Yeah, I completely agree with Carlo. I got to talk to Kiefer after the game. And then I was asking him, parang inunahan mo ba si Coach Bo when you said you're gonna play, even though everyone was telling you not to play? And he said, hindi naman. Nag-uusap sila about what to do with his body, whether or not he can test it. And I think the guy knows what he's doing.
Yes.
He's in his 3rd year. He's been with the Ateneo program for so many years, his entire amateur basketball life in high school. And he knows what's at stake, right? I don't think he's the kind who's going to risk just showing up so he can put on a show or get stats. Alam naman niya And after 8 minutes, they shut him down. And he said, okay, that's fine. Wala na akong magagawa.
Yeah. You know, when I saw him trotting to the official stable to get subbed in, I felt it was a Willis Reed moment. Kasi at that point, medyo...
Kailangan ng tulak
Yeah.
Oh, nandun na. Actually, we were doing very well. But you could really see the moment he entered, medyo made discomfort. He was trying to do what he wanted to do, but he would just launch threes.
Right.
Not even his 3-point shot attempt wasn't even a typical Kiefer Ravenna attempt.
Yeah. It was all arm. It was walang lift.
That's right. Okay, we just have one more question, then we're gonna cut to a break. Your thoughts eventually on him being rested for the second half. Tama lang ba yun?
Yeah, it's the first game. We don't really have anything to gain by winning it.
Parang hell week for us eh.
Let people talk, tinalo na, and you won this first game. But it doesn't really prove anything kasi di kompleto yung lineup eh. Okay lang, Ateneo fans can let it go.
Right, okay. So when we come back here at Blue Eagle 40, we're going to be discussing the rest of the game.